So let's get this straight. Mark Carney, our prime minister, is still invested in tax havens that dodge his bill.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. Today we got Mark Carney getting grilled about China, getting grilled about Bermuda, getting grilled on all aspects of life, basically. We've got some wild allegations coming from liberals. We also have liberals breaking the law, getting involved in some election interference. Let's jump into this. First off, we got this. Pierre Poilievre now one of 56 candidates on the ballot in Carlton riding. And we've got another update here. Now it's one of 91 candidates. There's a lot of people being put into Poilievre's riding. This is just some dirty tactics to confuse people on who to vote for when you see 91 people on the ballot. This is a form of protest. This happens in other ridings as well, but this is the one right now seems to be the craziest. Moving on, we've got this. It says Canadians are likely to trust Carney to keep campaign promises than Poilievre Nanos survey. Nick Nanos, man, come on. 48% of people think Carney is more trustworthy than Poilievre. This is the guy who was exposed for not paying taxes when he was chair of Brookfield. We're talking billions of dollars of taxes, $1 billion a year for many years, like 5.5 billion. This grifter is more trustworthy. Are you kidding me? This guy won't answer questions. He won't unveil his conflicts of interest. I'm in compliance with the rules. Yeah, the rules say that we'll know in 3 months after he's already become prime minister. Then we can find out he's completely compromised. Not only that, this guy is being endorsed by China. People need to wake up. Nick Nanos, man, hanging your hat on this? Really? You think this is good, honest data? If we take a look at federal spending here, look, we got Nanos research, 300,000, 200,000, 200,000, 180, 170. It goes on and on and on. Nick Nanos gets paid out the wazoo by the federal government. Freeloading. Why do we pay for this garbage? We don't need this data. Moving ahead, we've got this one here posted by Dimitri. It says a Liberal MP just accused Prime Minister Harper of being a funny mustache WW2 guy. You may have been a great kayaker, but you will never be a minister. And the reason why is here. Retract your statements. Apologize. So he's referring to Adam Vancouver in there, this eco-green zealot. He says, congratulations to Pierre Poilievre on his endorsement from Stephen Harper. He joins felons like Conrad Black, conspiracy fraudsters like Alex Jones, funny mustache guy from WW2, saluters like Elon Musk, and far-right influencers Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is one of Canada's greatest minds, a psychologist, not a right-wing influencer. Joe Rogan, Ben Shapiro. Adam Vancouver is the most butthurt loser ever. He's never able to make it to minister. He's always just a gum on some other liberal's shoe. This statement is deplorable. Moving ahead, we got 30 people showed up to Chrystia Freeland's rally. It says, sorry, nearly 30 people. Look at this. This is pitiful. So next up, we got this one here. It says Chief Electoral Officer called to testify at House Committee over meeting with Liberals and NDP. This goes back to January 25th. So I'm bringing this up because one of you emailed me, wanted to bring this up, and I think this is something very noteworthy to bring up. This was a meeting between, as it says here, the NDP and the Liberals to discuss rewriting the Elections Act. This was back in January. Nothing's happened with this since, but the Conservatives in the bloc were noticeably annoyed that they were not invited to this meeting. As of now, there's no update to this, but just with everything that's going on in the election, there's a lot of suspicious loose ends like this. Moving ahead, we've got Mark Carney getting grilled on China. Look at this body language. Does this not look like a guilty man to you?
From my understanding, some of the campaign was pushing positive narratives about you. Why do you think that China, the PRC, seems to like you? Why are they praising you?
I have absolutely no idea, and I have absolutely no idea, and I think I'll leave it at that.
I don't know what to say because I talked to Xi Jinping. I shook his hand. I'm one of his business partners. He's one of his business partners. Not like he's never interacted, never talked to anyone in Xi Jinping's team. He's literally hung out with Xi Jinping. Listen to it again.
China seems to like you. Why are they praising you?
I have absolutely no idea, and I have.
Says the same thing twice.
Absolutely no idea, and
I absolutely no idea.
I think. I'll leave it at that.
The time this guy who personally knows Xi Jinping didn't have a conversation with him, doesn't talk to him at all, I call bull crap. As this photo shows, this is not AI, this is a real photo. Next up, we have Liberals caught breaking the law with election interference. This is happening in the Nepean riding.
Hello, Nepean. It's Barbara Ball, your Conservative candidate. In a democracy, the right to free speech is sacred. It's common knowledge that the Barbara Ball team is very organized. Our signs were up very early in the campaign. Many of our wooden stakes are marked with blue tops and NCA for Nepean Conservative Association written on them. Now, we are discovering that hundreds of our signs are missing. We have found many of our signs in the garbage. We have also discovered empty holes and, in other instances, wooden stakes with blue tips and NCA written on them, bearing my opponent's red sign. When people resort to criminal behavior, they are undermining the democratic process itself. This is unacceptable. Our community deserves better.
They need to be disqualified, period. Whoever's in that riding, do we know who that is? Mark Carney has to be disqualified. They're cheating. Disqualified. He's out.
We must stand united against such actions, which tarnish the democratic ideals that we...
I mean, they're breaking the law. They're breaking the law. Let's just call it what it is. If they're going to break the law, then maybe we should all rally and start ripping out all the liberal signs. Is that what we should be doing? If the liberals are cheating, shouldn't we cheat? That's not something normally I would push, and I'm not necessarily pushing it, but they've got China endorsing Mark Carney. They're stealing signs. How far does this go before we have to push back? I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. He did say he was planning on using more Canadian lumber. This is absolutely crooked. Next up, I thought this was interesting. Scott Reed giving the nod to Pierre Poilievre in his giant rally in Edmonton.
Good night for the Conservatives. I mean, look, just to put this in perspective, as people listening, I don't know, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. Look, if you can pull out between 12 and 15,000 people to a political rally in Canada, you are sitting a new high water mark. Okay, this is extraordinary territory. So just to put this in perspective, I in the old days, back under Pierre Trudeau, they used to close the campaigns out in the 1970s with a rally at Maple Leaf Gardens. That maybe approached these numbers. This is big. And the endorsement of Stephen Harper, with all the, calm and economic credentials that he brings, his time in office during the 2009 financial crisis, that's all to the positive for Poilievre. So mark that down, a clearly good day for them.
We're going to show the polling, if we can, from Nanos Research.
No, we don't need to see any more Nanos research. Moving on, we got Mark Carney's rally. To be fair, I think this was probably pretty early. So here's inside. Apparently they filled the place, 900 people, and there was a couple hundred outside. Now, there was a bunch of conservatives who showed up because they want to see what's going on. They also wanted to heckle Mark Carney, which we'll get to here in a second. Do these kids know what's going on in our country? Their grandparents will vote for Mark Carney and they will have no future unless we get the word out who this guy is. We don't need a tax dodger running our country. Here we've got one from Marty up north. So Marty said it was pretty unbearable listening to Carney's speech, spent 30 minutes rambling out stuff that every single point could have been countered very easily, saying things like he owes everything his education to Alberta, and when really he's Oxford and Harvard educated, stuff like that. Here he is getting heckled on fighter jets.
We are fighting. We are fighting. We're not. We're not. Okay. Listen. I am reviewing that contract. I am reviewing that contract. Pay attention. Pay attention. Pay attention.
He's so awkward. He doesn't know what to do or how to handle it. But yes, he did cancel the second half of that fighter jet contract. He said he's going to be replacing it with European jets now. In contrast, we have a smaller event here for Pierre Poilievre, this one in Sault Ste. Marie, and it's packed once again. I don't know how many people are here, but definitely looks more than a Carney one. As the pleb says, this town only has 74,000 residents.
Who's ready to vote for change?
Next up, we have a brilliant question here, grilling Mark Carney on being a tax dodger.
Hi, Mr. Carney. Abigail Beeman, CTV News. On tax havens in relation to Brookfield, you've said that you know how the world works. Should Canadians infer from that you wouldn't condemn the use of tax havens?
I very strong. I have a long career in the private sector. I've a longer career in the public sector.
Look at this. This guy doesn't even know what to say. He's absolutely gobsmacked because he's a tax dodging grifter. He knows he's abused our system and giving nothing to our society. Now he parachutes in from his $10 million a year, however how much he made at Brookfield, downgrades himself to a $400,000 salary. And we're supposed to believe that he's doing this out of the goodness of his heart. And he doesn't have a whole bunch of stocks in Brookfield and will be pushing forward policies where Brookfield profits and benefits handsomely from it.
What's important is that we have a effective tax system, and that companies, every company, follows the rules of those tax to not just the letter but the spirit of those regulations. And we need to continue to refine our tax system to ensure that companies are paying their fair share of tax.
Yeah, which companies? Brookfield? There's a very interesting piece of body language here. So right there, see how he looks up? He is so stressed out in the situation. He doesn't want to be there. He's looking for an exit, not an exit door, just somewhere. It's like his brain wants to get out of there. He's looking for a window. He's looking for a way out. That's what that energy is. He's trying to get out of there because he's so uncomfortable with this position. I mean, you heard it in the beginning, especially when he starts to take a little bit of a step back when he's asked these questions. He really doesn't like these ones. He's got something to hide. Otherwise, show us what your stocks are. Show what your investments are. Does he have $25 million in Brookfield? 50 million? Who knows? But all his policies could be benefiting that because we don't know. With that, we've got Pierre Poilievre absolutely destroying him on this, just going full bore.
Today, this is breaking news. Mark Carney was asked point blank if, as Prime Minister of Canada, he would condemn tax havens, international tax havens in the Caribbean, where multinational corporations stash their cash to avoid paying what they owe. Now, for the first time in the history of Canada, a Prime Minister was unwilling to condemn these international tax havens for multinationals and billionaires. Just today, he dodged the question just like he dodged his taxes. Yeah. And you know why? Because he's in a conflict of interest. He has billions of dollars of his company assets stashed away in Bermuda, in a post office box above a bicycle shop. You know, he didn't put the money there because it's nice weather in Bermuda. He put it there because Bermuda is known as the most flagrant tax haven anywhere on earth.
I showed that in my Bermuda video, 0% tax, where you got other places like the Cayman Islands, I believe was like 2%. All those places around there, they're 1, 2, 5%, 8%, 10%, but Bermuda is the best. That's why Brookfield is there.
And his company has been called Canada's biggest tax dodger. Now, that would be a terrible thing for him to have in his past, but it's not the past. It's the present. He continues to have millions of dollars invested in this company, which is hiding its money away from paying taxes. So let's get this straight. While the police officers here in the Soo, or that waitress who's struggling to feed her kids, or the small businesses that are hanging on by a thread, are forced to pay high Liberal taxes, Mark Carney, our Prime Minister, is still invested in tax havens that dodge his bill. My friends, that is not putting Canada first. That is not the change we need. We need a new Conservative government that will put our taxpayers first for a change.
Mark Carney is putting Canada last. Just think of what we could do with that money. Over the last few years, $5 billion. That would boost healthcare, that would boost schools, roads, whatever, and you name it, pharmacare. Speaking from the viewpoint of the Liberals being in power, they could have put that to pharmacare or to more dental care or whatever they wanted. We would have got something out of it. It's a dirty loophole that the Liberals didn't want to close because Mark Carney was the economic advisor to Justin Trudeau. Remember this guy, Stephen Bronfman, Trudeau's close advisor? This guy was called out and caught. As it says here, he helped move huge sums of money offshore. He says he was involved in a complex offshore web, leaked papers show. Bronfman was instrumental in Trudeau's successful bid for leadership of the Canadian Liberal Party in 2013. So you just have to take a look at who Mark Carney, Justin Trudeau, all these guys hang around with. They don't close these loopholes because they use them. Brookfield's claims of being a responsible investor and advancing a sustainable green economy appear to be in serious doubt, extracting profits from public infrastructure and avoiding taxes needed to fund basic public services is by no means a sustainable business practice. It's just another benefit for Mark Carney, and, well, there's probably another one here. Take a look at this. He announces $25 billion for prefabricated homes.
Prefabricated and modular housing are the future. They can drive down time to completion by up to 50%. They can reduce costs by up to 20%, emissions by over 20% compared to traditional construction methods. And Canada should be the world leader in this new industry. And as you can see here, we're already well positioned to do so. And that's why my government will provide $25 billion, I'll repeat, $25 billion in financing to scale the industry up massively, to create high-paying jobs, high-skilled jobs up and down the supply chain in prefabricated and modular housing factories.
This is awful. The private sector needs to be doing this stuff. I'm not against prefabricated homes. I've stated multiple times to get a bunch of housing, especially for students, maybe seniors. This would be a quick solution also if they offered homes really cheap, not make them $500,000, but $50,000, $80,000, $100,000 for a small house. But the government shouldn't be paying for this. The government should not be involved in this at all. And there's something very suspicious about this.
Like this one. In innovative housing research, such as at the UBC Smart Structures, which I visited just in February, and in our world-class forestry industry. Our plan will revitalize our construction sector, where in recent years, labor productivity has been stagnant and costs have risen over 50%. Prefabricated and modular housing will catalyze a productivity boom while creating tens of thousands of not just jobs, but tens of thousands of new high-paying careers in the skilled trades.
This guy's worse than Trudeau. As Bertani says, it's $500,000 for a lot in Lower Mainland. Talking about Vancouver. This modular housing announcement is a huge red flag. So we've got Mark Carney here on my map. So he was chair of Brookfield. Well, what does Brookfield have if we go down here? What's this? What's that under Brookfield Infrastructure? It's Modular Group. What's that? Brookfield signs $5 billion deal, etc., etc. They bought this company out, basically. It says here they agreed to acquire Modular Group, European designer of modular work. Modular designs modular buildings that can be rented for work and living, as well as profitable storage units. They don't sell these. Mark Carney has not mentioned once about people buying these houses. Not once. There's no mention of owning the house, any of this stuff. We take a look at the company itself here. So this is Modular Group. This is the company Brookfield owns now. You can see they operate in Europe. Once again, ties in with Mark Carney and his European dreams. Wants to bring us closer to Europe because that's where all his personal ties are. He has a house there. He lived there. He's European. He's Irish. He's English. So we take a look at this video they have on their website here. They're stacking a bunch of boxes. There's some situations where this makes a lot of sense, but the government can't be involved because Mark Carney, if he's got $20 million in Brookfield invested in the company and then they get a contract for this, that just makes Mark Carney rich. Here we got Vesper sharing a Chinese prefabrication housing modular system here. This is essentially what Mark Carney wants in Canada. You can buy these things on Amazon now. The entire box house. Not the most beautiful building out there, is it? But I mean, for cheaper housing, this stuff is fine. But once again, is Brookfield involved in this? That is the big question here. Next up, we got Mark Carney being asked about his rude comments about Danielle Smith.
Do you worry that making jokes about Premier Danielle Smith will contribute to Western alienation?
It was a lighthearted comment. I have a lot of respect for the Premier. We've worked together including already we've worked together, including on the agreement at First Ministers, the unanimous agreement on First Ministers of having one Canadian economy as opposed to 13, developing new trade and energy corridors. I refer to our meeting in Ottawa of 2.5 weeks ago. There is a lot of opportunity for Alberta, for Canada, and my government will spare no effort to make sure that the people of Alberta, the people of Canada realize those opportunities.
Certain situations you can make jokes, but when there's so much tension between the Liberal government and Danielle Smith and Alberta, the jokes were not funny. He was insulting Doug Ford. He was insulting Danielle Smith, humiliating them essentially for going down to America and trying to help the situation. He doesn't want this situation to be helped. It's his whole campaign. I've never seen anyone say so much without saying anything at all. Canadians need to decide now. Do they want a family man who wants to make Canada better, has a proven track record, has been saying the same thing for the last 10 years, and was right about all the policies that would make Canada better in Pierre Poilievre? Or they want a globalist, elitist, rich banker who dodges taxes to be the leader of Canada?